Vendor A, siya ang nag-distribute ng pera na nakuhang slush fund. This is the slush fund. Yan. Yan yung slush fund. Siya yung naghati ng pera. Paano niya hinati? Si Vendor A, pinadala niya yung pera sa dalawang shell company. Ito, shell company X, shell company Y. Ang complicated, no? Ang galing eh. Ang daming layers eh. Naitago talaga ni Andres Bautista. Ang galing eh. Si Shell Company X, mga kotsero, ito, naka-base sa ibang bansa. Si Shell Company Y, ganun din. Nasa isang taxi. Itong dalawang Shell Company na to, mga kotsero, nagpadala ng pera kay Bauman Enterprises Limited. Si Bauman Enterprises Limited, mga kotsero, is another Shell Company. Walang laman to. Walang laman yan. Shell company din yan. Pero ang beneficial owner niyan ay si Andres Bautista. Eto na. Magkano ang mga pinadala? 500,000. 500,000 hindi naging successful. Bakit? Ni-reject ng bangko. Kasi nag-limit. Nag-limit eh. So ni-reject. Binalik sa sender. Nag-try sila ulit. 500,000, 500,000. Ni-reject, bumalik. Bumalik kay Shell Company. Kaya tingnan niya paikot-ikot. Paikot-ikot. Ayan. So, paano napunta? Paano nakuha ni Andres Bautista yung pera? Kung babasahin niyo yung kaso, ang pinadala nila, binawasan nila ng $25. So, instead na 500,000, pinadala nila 499,975. Parang ganun. Binawasan nila ng $25. Nung binawasan nila ng $25, pumasok. So, na-transfer nila ngayon kay Bauman Enterprises Limited na si Andres Bautista. Si Bauman Enterprises Limited, syempre, meron tayong tinatawag sa sa corporation code na na hiwalay ang kanyang personalidad sa pagkatao ng isang person. Pero pwedeng yan pwedeng ma-disregard yung separation ng ng personality ng negosyo at ng korporasyon at ng tao kung may fraud, kung may panloloko. So this time, ang ginawa, dahil may panlolokong nagaganap, tinratrato nila ngayon to na one and the same person. Si Bauman Enterprises tsaka si Andres Bautista. Ngayon, paano nakuha ni Andres Bautista yung pera? Paano mo nga naman ito maitatransfer? Ang laking halaga niyan. May limit. May limit yan eh. Hanggang 10,000 na ang pwede mo ipadali. Ito ang ginawa ni Andres Bautista. August 23, 2016, nagpadala siya ng 960,000 sa isang family member. Paano? Loan daw, loan. Nagpautang daw yung kanyang kumpanya sa isang family member niya sa US. Nagpautang daw. Utang, guys. 960,000 US dollars. Tindi. So, dahil utang, nailusot. Utang eh. August 29, 2016, nakuha yung pera. At ipinangbili ng bahay sa Hollywood. August 31. But, mga kotsero, don't forget, this is a money laundering scheme. Hindi natin alam kung patuloy pa niyang pinag-aarian yung bahay na yan. Baka hindi na. Money laundering lilinisin mo yung pera mo galing sa isang illegal transaction. So pinambili niya ng bahay. Maliban natin kung binenta na niya ng bahay na yan para makuha niya yung cash, di ba? So yun. Hindi pa dito natatapos, meron pa. Meron pa. Meron pang 900,000 na December 16 to February 2017 na ni-redirect ni Shell Company X. Ito. Yan, hindi talaga pumasok yan. Bumabalik kay Shell Company. Etong kay Shell Company Y, pumasok. Kasi nga binawasan nila ng amount ng $25. So ito ngayon. So Ni-redirect nila ngayon, nilipat nila. Pinasok nila sa isang negosyo sa Pilipinas. Ang pangalan ay Philippine Metals Company. Ang may-ari niyan, Andres Bautista rin. Tapos, dineposit yung 900,000, nakuha ni Philippine Metals Company. Tapos, nung December 16 hanggang February 2017, dineposit ni Philippine Metals Company kay Philippine MSB Company, yung 900,000 na nakuha niya, kay vendor X, kay Shell Company X. Sino may-ari nito? Andres Bautista. Yun yung kaso. Tignan nyo naman gaano ka-elaborate ang ginawa nila dito. Ilang fake company ang ginawa nila para lang makuha to. Tagong-tago. Kung hindi lang illegal to I would call this genius. Kung hindi lang illegal to kaso illegal. So this is a genius out of this is illicitly genius. Illegal to Pero ang galing. Ang galing. Magkano ang total na ibinigay sa kanya? May 900,000 siya. Tapos meron pa siyang 1.2. Almost 2 million mahigit. 2 million mahigit. Ay, grabe, ang galing. So out of the 199 million contract na ibinigay kay allegedly Smartmatic, 2 million pala, $2 million kay Andres Bautista. Kaya pala ang tagal niya nakakapagtago sa Amerika. Ikaw na may $2 million. Ang daming layers nito. Si allegedly Smartmatic, hanggang dito lang siya, hanggang sa vendor A. Hanggang kay vendor A lang.
Talagang pangangatawa ng...
Pero yung mga representante niya kay vendor A, which is under allegedly Smartmatic, sila yung nagde-deposit kay Shell Company X at kay Shell Company Y. At sila yung nagde-deposit kay Andres Bautista, na si Bauman Enterprises, si Philippine Metals, si Philippine MSB, at si family member. Grabe, no? Tapos sasabihin nila, Marcos magnanakaw. Tigas ng mukha na tong mamang to. Ang galing, grabe. Mga kodyero, kung di lang talaga illegal to, I would call this genius. Ang layo nito kay Andres Bautista, hindi mo siya may kukonek Alam niyo yung connection lang dito ni Andres Bautista? Etong tatlong to, si Bauman Enterprises na naka-base sa Singapore, eto sa Pilipinas. Yan lang ang connection niya. Buti na lang may piercing the veil of corporate personality. Diyos ko, grabe to. Ay, money laundering talaga, guys. Money laundering talaga, promise. So siguro yung nakita nung asawa niya ni Andres Bautista, parte nung $900,000. No. Iba pa yung kay Pacquiao. Si Pacquiao, si Pastor Apollo, si Kibuloy, di ako nagmumura. Iba pa si Pacquiao. Yung kay Pacquiao, masyadong straightforward, masyadong simple. Kaya direkta agad sa kanya yung money laundering, eh. Yung kay Pacquiao kasi, meron siyang foundation. Si foundation niya namamalimos. So siyempre 'pag namamalimos bibigay sa'yo cash. 'Pag binigay sa'yo ng cash mga kutsero, ang ginagawa ni Pacquiao, hindi niya pinapadaan sa ganito, masyadong pangmatalino 'to, masyadong elaborate para maitago yung hindi arok 'to ni Kibuloy. Hindi 'to kayang isipin ni Kibuloy. Masyadong complicated 'to. Tatama rin mag-launder ng pera si Kibuloy nito, eh, alam niyo na 'yon, 'di ba, si Kibuloy, mukhang pera. So, ang ginawa ni Kibuloy simpleng-simple lang, umupa siya ng private jet at do'n niya pinasok lahat ng pera. Gano'n lang kasimple. Gano'n lang kasimple si Kibs, mga kotsero. Very simplistic ang kanyang and very practical. Very simplistic yet very practical. Pinasok lang niya sa private jet niya. Nung pinasok niya sa private jet, lilipad na siya, takore. Ganon. Etong kay Andres Bautista, ano 'to, medyo elaborate. Kasi, abogado si Andres Bautista, eh, and expertise niya talaga is corporate law. Si Andres Bautista. So, syempre, meron siyang inaalagaang pangalan, abogado siya, tapos, inaalagaang pangalan. So, kailangan talaga niyang itago sa iba't ibang layers. Si Kibuloy, wala, hindi. Hindi siya ganon. Si Kibuloy yung pang tipong, wala lang, magnanakaw lang. Tinakas lang yung nakaw niya sa eroplano, ganun lang. Sabi ni Edwin, very simple, very bobo. Huwag naman kayo masyadong harsh. But anyway, so yon. Ang elaborate, no? Ang elaborate. Tsaka magastos kasi bubuo ka ng shell company. Ilan to? Isa, dalawa. 3 shell companies yan, no? 3 yan. Si Philippine Metals, si Philippine MSB, si Bauman Enterprises. That is according to the document. Okay, hindi ko alam kung meron talaga nag-e-exist niyan. Pero apparently, sabi sa document, they're shell companies. Buti na huli, no? Alam nyo talaga, ako naniniwala talaga ako, kung ano yung gawin mo talaga, bumabalik sa'yo. Pag gumawa ka talaga ng mabuti, babalik sa'yo, times 10 ng kabutihan din. Pero kapag gumawa ka ng masama, times 10 din ng masama ang babalik sa'yo. Ganun, eh. Imagine, nandaya ka. Ang laking kasama ko nun. Tapos ngayon, ang tagal-tagal mong tinanggi, magsasampung taon mo tinanggi, all of a sudden, bigla ka may expose ng ganito. All of a sudden, bigla ka may expose. Sira bigla pangalan mo, no? Kaya pala hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin siya makabalik. Tapos na yung tapos na yung kay Digong, di ba? Yung term ni Digong. Di ba, pinapa-aresto siya sa NBI? Hindi siya umuwi, di ba? Tapos na yung term ni Digong, eh. Usually, mga ganyan, matapang pag uuwi na, uwi na ng Pilipinas. Ito hindi makauwi. Alam mo sa malamang, nasa watchlist na to ng Amerika. Baka nasa immigration watchlist na siya. Grabe, no? Ganito gumawa ng krimen ng mga dilawan. May utak. Yung nung panahon ni Digong, pag gumagawa sila ng krimen, wala eh, barubal eh. Madumi. Alam na alam agad, matitrace agad sa kanila. Pero mga dilawan, pag gumawa ng krimen, may utak. But anyway, joke lang yan, joke lang. But not really. It's a joke, but not really. So, ayan. Pero at least, alam niyo mga kotsero, at least ba kahit na natagalan. Took a while bago na kasi 2017 pa siya iniimbestigahan. Imagine, 2017 pa siya iniimbestigahan ng Homeland Security. Walang kaalam-alamang mama. Nakakatakot mag-ooperate ang Amerika. Grabe, walang kaalam-alam si Andres Bautista, ino-operate na siya. Grabe. May hustisya talaga sa Panginoon. Diyos ko, kaya ingat-ingat talaga tayo, guys. May totoong may Diyos at may hustisya ang Panginoon. Maniwala kayo. Kung ano yung gagawin mong masama, ibabalik sa'yo 10 times ng kasamaan na ginawa mo. Kapag gumawa ka mabuti, 10 times din ang ibabalik sa'yo ng Panginoon. But anyway, so yun, grabe. It took what? 2017, 2018, 6 years. 6 years no? Bago na naman talaga tawag dito ng 6 years na case build up, mga OJ. Grabe. Kung sino man yung nag-iimbestiga nito, parang kalahati na ng career niya. Tagal ng case build up niya, pero sigurado. Dapat sigurado yun. Pag nagbuo ka ng kaso, nag-case build up, dapat sigurado. Sana, no? And I guess this is vindication din eh. Vindication to kay PBBM. Na ang tagal-tagal niyang sinasabi yan, dinaya ako. Nagkaroon ng dayaan noong 2016. Nagkaroon ng bilihan ng boto noong 2016. Nagkaroon ng bilihan ng commissioner noong 2016. Pero walang naniniwala sa kanya for the past 6-7 years. Mga loyalista lang naniniwala sa kanya. But this time, vindicated siya. Tama pala siya. All along. Tama pala siya. And I think this time, mga kotsero, mukhang makakasagot ng maayos ang COMELEC sa Supreme Court natin. Na dapat nga talagang tanggalin si Smartmatic sa ating electoral process. And if possible, Senator Amy, baka naman pwede mo nang i-hearing in aid of legislation to. Amyendahan nyo na yung Omnibus Election Code. Baka naman. Tanggalin nyo na yung parte na kailangan fully automated. Baka naman pwede nang i-hybrid na natin ang eleksyon para mabawasan tong mga gantong kabalbalan. Correct, Ron Rafa. So legit na fake VP si Lenny. Fake VP talaga si Lenny. Legit na yun. Faux show. Oo. So, good luck. Good luck na lang, di ba? This time, syempre, ngayon gusto na lang ikabit yung issue ng Smartmatic kay PBBM. Lang yan. Glenn Chong. Pasok. Alam niyo, with due respect kay Attorney Glenn, so, may nagko-comment nga dyan sa Like yung challenge natin kay kay attorney Harry Roque doon sa kanyang PIDEA leaks naman. Kung kung legitimate talaga yung mga claims nyo, and you know that it will stand the scrutiny of an impeachment case, why not? File na po kayo ng impeachment case. Sinasabi nyo na durugista yung presidente, you have the PIDEA documents to prove it, then go ahead. File an impeachment case. Be there. Ito ko Attorney Glenjo, convince siya na nandaya daw ang Smartmatic. Dahil ginawa ng 2016, hindi daw ang ginawa ngayon. Kasi Duterte appointment. Pinandiyan at sa'yo. So, talaga may gano'n. Talaga may gano'n. Mas may bayag pa sa inyo si Atty. Larry Gadon eh. Si Atty. Gadon, kahit nag-file siya ng impeachment complaint. Justice Jones. Talo matalo. Ano siya? Nag-file siya ng talo man. Alam niya. Meron pa siya yung ginaya niya sa comedian dyan. Bibili sa comedian. Umusan. Masasabi niya sa sarili. Ginawa ko. Kayo ba? Ginawa niyo yung tama dapat yung gawin para matanggal si BBBM based on the evidence that you have. Baka naman pwede. Baka okay lang po. Kasi sundo po talaga kayo dyan. Pa-impeach na po. You have the PIDEA leaks, you have the Smartmatic, whatever. File na kayo ng impeachment complaint. O, sasabihin na naman ng mga DDS.
New Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola. Not just ready, born ready.
Complaint, hawak ni Presidente yung House Speaker. Going back to my previous story, kaya Atty. Larry Gadon, sino ba ang may hawak ng Congress ng panahon na dilawan ba si Digong at hindi niya pinatanggal si Justice Bill? Hindi niya ginawa ng paraan si Justice Bill? Sino bang House Speaker nun? Tao ni Sara yun. Si Velasco. Tao ni Sara yun. Hindi niya nagawa niya. Ay, kayo ng impeachment. At least no, put your money where your mouth is. Kung feeling nyo talaga, hindi siya karapat-dapat na maging it's only for appointed individuals. But this is an election, and the Omnibus Election Code has specific rules for removing elected officials that na sa palagay ng iba ay hindi dapat nandiyan, and that is to the process of the election protest. Kung gusto niyo matanggal si PBBM through an election protest, kumbinsihin niyo si Lenny na mag-file ng election protest. Kumbinsihin niyo siya. Otherwise, it's impeachment. So there. Yan natin second topic. What goes around comes around. What goes around comes around. Justin Timberlake. Anyway. Kamusta pa kayo dyan, guys? Kaya pa ba? Baka inaantok na kayo, ha? Pero ang dami natin ngayon, ha? 3,218 at 1,516 ang ating likes. Uy, grabe, umaabot na tayo lampas 50%, no? Oo. Buti naman. Buti naman, guys. Salamat. Love you. Anyway. Game. Naantok na kayo? Sige, last na lang. Laban tayo, laban. Sana lang. Pero bago natin puntahan tong topic na to, as usual, as expected, tayo po ay magsha-shoutout muna sa mga kaibigan natin sa Sendwave! Kung kayo po ay nasa US, UK, Canada, Italy, France, Spain, Ireland, and Belgium, may pwede na magpadala sa Pilipinas gamit ang Sendwave. At ito po ay real time, almost real time by the way, lalo kapag gagamit kayo ng app. Siyempre pag pawn shop, hindi real time. Pero kung kayo po ay gagamit ng online banking, ayan, pwede nyo gamitin si Sendwave. Gagawin nyo lang ay download yung Sendwave app, gawa kayo ng account, lagay nyo pa account details nyo dyan. At pwede na kayo magpadala sa GCash, real time yon. Sa mga bangko, real time din yun, lalo na kung may online banking kayo. At sa mga pawn shops, again, sa mga pawn shops, of course, may yun, hindi real time yung pawn shop. At kapag ginamit nyo po ang promo code na Coach Jared, ay makakuha kayo ng karagdagang $20 free credit sa inyong unang padala. Kaya gamitin na si Sendwave for all of your remittance. Okay, here we go. Sana lang. Sabi ng misis ko, kakatokin niya ako ng alauna na, wala pa rin. Sakarin na natin to. Napadaldal ako langya. Anyway. Last 30 minutes. Kaya to 30 minutes. Okay, game. Ay. Sorry. Sorry naman. Wait lang. Natanggal ang aking earphones. Sorry. Ayan. Okay. Eto na. Puntahan natin itong huli natin topic. Ang Pilipinas magpapasabog na ngayon ng China-made chips. Magpapasabog na ang Pilipinas ng mga barko ng China, guys. Grabe. Labanan na talaga to. Laban-laban na talaga. Pero ipapasabugin nila mga kotsero, decommission chip. China-made lang, China-made. Pero decommission ng Pilipinas. Sabi, made in China ship as mock target in Balikatan unintentional. Uy, grabe. Nag-react ang Pilipinas. After earning the ire of Chinese state media, the Philippine Navy on Tuesday said the decision to use an old made in China ship as a mock target in Balikatan War Games was not intentional. Actually, hindi naman natin kailangan magpaliwanag sa China pero Alam nyo, ano natin yung balita.
Don't give any meaning to that. It's just coincidental. It's not complicated. It's coincidental. We have to check. If ever it is, it's no pun intended, no meaning to that. It's just coincidental. If ever it is.
Nagkataon lamang at hindi dapat bigyan ng masamang kahulugan ang nalalapit na sinking exercise na isasagawa sa karagatang malapit sa Ilocos Norte bilang bahagi ng balikatan exercises ngayong taon. Ang napili kasing barko na palubugin ay ang decommissioned vessel ng Philippine Navy na BRP Lake Caliraya, ang kaisa-isang
Lake
Navy
Caliraya.
vessel na gawa sa China. Ayon kay Philippine Navy Flag Officer in Command, Vice Admiral Toribio Adasi Jr., matagal at luma na ang naturang barko.
The vessel has been used in the Philippines for a long time. So any attachment, if ever there is any, doesn't matter at all.
Hindi naman direktang inamin ng Navy na gawa sa China ang barko na halos nasa 50 taon na ang edad. Ito ay barko para sa Philippine National Oil Company na kalaunan ay ibinigay nila sa Philippine Navy. Ngunit hindi rin ito nagtagal sa serbisyo dahil marami ng mechanical problems.
This is an old tanker. We commissioned it in the Navy.
Basta made in China, maraming problems. Asa kayo ng quality galing sa China? Disposable nga mga nabibili dyan eh. Kaya nga mumurahin lang yan eh. Huwag kayo mag-expect ng quality basta galing China.
Maybe several years ago for to support the conduct of our naval operations. It's an old tanker, but because we can no longer, we found it appropriate to decommission it, so as not to incur so much expenses on repair and maintenance, and we reserved it for exercises such as baligatan, so that we can have a target for our firing.
Sabi nila, it's unintentional, nagkataon lang, pero we reserved it for our baligatan. Loko rin tong AFP natin eh. Pasaway rin to eh. Papang-asar din tong AFP natin. Tuloy niya, sige go ahead, tuloy nyo lang yan.
Pero ang China, nauna nang inalmahan ng planong ito ng Pilipinas at US. Sa isang pahayagan na Global Times, sinabi nito na hindi dapat masyadong excited ang Pilipinas sa pagpapalubog ng barko dahil hindi nito kayang gawin sa totoong barko ng China. Mayroon din daw hangganan ang pasensya ng China at kapag nasagat ito at mailagay sa red line ang kapayapaan at stability sa South China Sea dahil sa Pilipinas at puwersang galing sa labas ay mapipilitang gumawa ng hakbang ang China na siguradong hindi kakayanin ng Pilipinas. Samantala, hindi naman papuputukin ang mid-range capability missile system na dinala ng US bilang bahagi ng Salaknib 2024 at Balikatan. May kakayahan ito na tamaan ng target sa layong 1,000 kilometro at maaaring magpakawala ng Standard Missile 6 at Tomahawk Land Attack
Balita na to last
Missile.
week.
This particular capacity is for us to learn on how this kind of assets will benefit on its speedy mobilization if needed.
Nag-iiyak ang China kasi. Puntahan natin ngawa ng China. Dito yan nakuha. Ayan yung article. April 20, 2024. Yan. Si Global Times yan. Ulitin ko lang mga kotsero. Si Global Times, ito ang official Chinese state newspaper. English language newspaper. Ibig natin sabihin, pag official English language ng Chinese state English language newspaper, ibig sabihin yan, ang nagpapatakbo nito, si Chinese Communist Party. Oo. Lahat ng sinasabi nila, lahat ng sinusulat nila, bida-bida sa China. Ganun lang yun. At lahat ng sinusulat nila, inaaprubahan ng Chinese Communist Party. Partido Komunista ng China. Oo. Partido Komunista ng China. Oo, yung mga kung merong CPP, NPA, NDF, no, 'di ba? Meron tayong Communist Party of the Philippines. Meron ding Chinese Communist Party. Oo. Partido Komunista ng China. Ba't ko inuulit-ulit yan? Kasi akala ko ba galit tayo sa mga komunista? Bakit yung mga Duterte Balahura supporters mahal na mahal ang China? Akala ko ba kayo yun ng komunista? Ha? Akala ko kayo yun ng komunista? Double standards is waving. I love Xi Jinping. I love Xi Jinping, sabi ni Digong. I love Xi Jinping. O, kinikilig pa yon. I love Xi Jinping. Love, 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 love. Chris Aquino pala yun, no? Love, 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 love. I love, 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 love Xi Jinping. Chris Aquino pala. O, hindi ako nakapag-shoutout ng mga nag-super chat. Wait lang, ha. Maria Corazon Munar, salamat sa super chat. Si Mahalel Custodio, Twin Horse, Lina, Mark Gonzalez, Chas. Nawala ako. Yan, salamat sa inyong super chat. It's very, very much appreciated. Yan. Si Sakino pala yun. Love, love, love. Ayan. Anyway, lampasan natin ito. Napakahaba na ito. Dito tayo sa pinakapunto. Sabi na the current situation in the South China Sea is generally stable, but the US and the Philippines are constantly causing trouble, trying to drag down and consume China. China will never fall for it. Google lang daw ang Pilipinas. Tama naman ako dito. Perhaps Marcos Jr. is fantasizing about exchanging economic investments dahil sa Amerika sa Japan with the US by cooperating with it in its competition with China. But the problem is that the US has been the Philippines' most important allies for the past few decades. If the US really wanted to help the Philippines, why would it have waited until today? Sabi ko rin tayo. Kung gusto talagang tumulong ng Amerika sa Pilipinas, bakit ngayon lang? Bakit ngayon lang? Pwede ko rin naman ibalik yung tanong sa China. Halimbawa, may kausap ako ngayon na taga Global Times. Tatanungin, kung gusto talagang, kung gusto talagang tulungan, maseso ang Pilipinas, bakit pogo lang ang dinala nyo sa Pilipinas? At bakit sa 24 billion na ipinangako nyo sa Pilipinas, less than 5% na pumasok? Wala. Iyak. Iyak. Ito, punta na sa ilalim. China's attitude in the past few months, it can be seen that we have left room and flexibility for the Philippines on the South China Sea issue in the hope that the current disputes can be resolved through communication, negotiation, and dialogue. Sinagot naman ito ng gobyerno natin, di ba? Sabi ni Secretary Gibo, by the way, buti na lang talaga si Secretary Gibo ang ating D&D Secretary. Buti na lang talaga. Si Sarah, ay wala. Iyak-iyak tayo. But anyway, so, ayun na nga. Sabi na nga ni Secretary Gibo kung kayo, China, honest kausap. Kung hindi kayo sinungaling at hindi kayo bad faith actor, malamang nakapag-usap talaga ang Pilipinas sa China. So, hindi sila good faith actor Napakawalang yan ng Chinese Communist Party. Mga sinungaling ang Chinese Communist Party, guys. Okay, maniniwala sa Chinese Communist Party, mga sinungaling ang mga yan. However, whether it is Renai Zhao, Huangyan Dao, or other reefs and islands, well, West Philippines. The Philippines is still acting unilaterally. Bawal? Bawal kaming gumalaw unilaterally. Last we heard, signatory din kayo sa UNCLOS, China. At nakasulat sa UNCLOS na ang coastal state ay may karapatan gawin ang kahit ano sa kanyang exclusive economic zone. Basta hindi illegal. Kaya niyang gawin kahit ano. Kaya niyang minahin kahit ano. Kaya niyang hamuin kahit ano. Basta nasa exclusive economic zone lang. You have all the rights to act unilaterally. Kayong walang karapatan dito. Squatter kayo dito sa lugar namin. Squatter kayo. Squatter. We hope that the Philippines will not allow the spiritual victory of sinking target ships to make them too excited, leading to the illusion that they can take on real ships. Ay, totoo naman hindi eh. Pero sino ang may kaya? Sino may kaya? Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, US. Sino pa? Ay, ito na lang muna. Top 5 allies ng mga Pilipinas. Yun ang wala kasi si China eh. Wala siyang reliable ally. Si India pa pala. Si India, si France. Yan ang problema ni yan ang problema ni China. Wala siyang reliable ally. Busy yung isa niyang kaalyado sa Ukraine. Busy yung isa niyang kaalyado sa South Korea. Mag-isa lang siya. Kaya dinadaan niya sa ganito, sa darag. UK din, syempre. Sila, may kapasidad sila. Kami, Pilipinas, wala. Pero yung mga rest back namin, malalakas.
Para no sweat summer, mag-grab food.
Gumaganto-ganto ka. Kaya nga takot na kayo eh. Kaya nga takot na kayo eh. Oo nga, North Korea nga. Busy siya sa South Korea, di ba? Anyway. China's restraint is unlimited. It's not limited. Unlimited pala, not unlimited. And if the Philippines and external forces cross the bottom line and red line of peace and stability in the South China Sea, China will definitely take action when necessary, which is something the Philippines cannot afford. Uy, mananakot ulit. Yan yung sinasabi ni Digong. Naalala niyo to? Yung sinasabi ni Digong na there'll be trouble. There'll be trouble daw sabi diba? Nagpadarag kasi si Digong. Kala ko ba matapang si Digong? Kala ko matapang, mukhang hindi naman pala. Nagpadarag kay Xi Jinping. Nirelinquish na yung rights natin eh. Kaya nakapagtayo ng mga base militarang ang China dyan sa West Philippines eh. Napakawalang kwenta talaga presidente to si Digong. Yun sabi ni Digong, di ba? Bobombahin daw tayo ng China. Oo. Huwag na tong gentleman's agreement, 5 balita na yan. Bobombahin daw tayo ng China, etc. etc. Kasi there'll be trouble. There'll be trouble daw. There'll be trouble. You think? Alam nyo mga kotsero, makapanood ako sa inyong video, pero I would agree dito sa nag-interview na to. Kaya dito sa in-interview ni Karen Davila, si Ray Powell. Tinanong kasi siya tungkol dyan sa kung gegera ba ang China, etc. etc. I would agree doon sa sinabi ni Ray Powell in general or at least in principle. In principle, I would agree. Panoorin lang. Medyo mahaba lang to 10 minutes pero very informative. Panoorin lang natin.
I believe 9 EDCA sites in the Philippines, a more proactive and robust relationship with the United States, joint drills happening right now, the international community speaking out in support of the Philippines when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. And yet in the region there are fears of violence and war. Former President Duterte has always said, do we want to go to war? We can't afford to go to war. We will lose if China decides to go to war. You've been studying this for a long time. Ray, will China go to war?
China hasn't gone to war since 1979. And I think that China does not want to go to war. And I think that nations that don't want to go to war generally don't go to war. What China wants to do is it wants to win without fighting. It wants to coerce and cajole its adversaries into submission. And so it will, beat the war drums. But I think that, generally speaking, I think that China is very unlikely to sort of cross that threshold unless it thinks that it has an overwhelming chance of winning and making the endeavor worth it. And I just don't think that China thinks that's necessarily the case.
Agree ako kay Ray Powell doon. Bakit? Bakit ako nag-agree sa sinabi ni Ray Powell? Sabi ni Ray Powell, nag-iingay lang si China. Mas gusto ni China na manalo siya by force or intimidation. By intimidation pala. Rather than by actually going to war. Kasi they have not been to war since 1979. Meaning, wala silang practice. Ang alam lang nila sa sa gera is theory. At alam ni China na kahit siya ang may pinakamalaking navy sa buong mundo at siya ang may pinakamalaking militar sa buong mundo, wala silang battle experience. Alam nila yan. Alam nila yan. Hindi nila alam kung baka kapag sa totoong gera na, yung talagang bakbakan na, baka talunin pa sila ng AFP natin. Bakit? Halimbawa lang, pumasok sila dito sa beaches ng Pilipinas. Baka talunin pa sila ng AFP natin. Ang dami nating bundok na pwede pagtaguan ng mga AFP. AFP natin, batak yan sa gera. Hanggang ngayon meron pa ring NPA na ipagbakbakan niya. Yun, real time yun. Hindi practice yun. Hindi practice yun. Subukan nila pumasok sa bundok ng Pilipinas. Hindi sila makakalabas. Anong gagawin nila? Bobombahin nila lahat ng bundok sa Pilipinas? Kung magtago sa mga kuweba-kuweba? Maraming taguan dito. Meron lang sila ng technology. Oo, hindi pa nga quality yung technology. Yung mga binigay nilang mga tao dito, mga materyales sa Russia, nagpapalyahan lahat eh. Meron, dinadaan nila sa volume. Kumbaga, isip Chinese. Marami, tubong lugaw. Okay na yon. Tubong lugaw, okay lang. Basta marami. Volume. Doon nila dinadaan. Kala nila lahat makukuha sa dami. No, it's not. Subukan nila. Pasok sila ng Palawan. Try nila. Try nila. Try nila kumuha ng isang isla sa Pilipinas. Basta maraming bundok. Magaling ang AFP natin sa terrain. Saka sa jungle warfare. Kaya ba ng Chinese yun? No, di doon. Wala silang, bakit? Wala, puro lang sila practice. Kaya nga humihingi tayo ng tulong, hindi naman para sa army. Humihingi tayo ng tulong para sa navy. Kasi doon talaga tayo kulang na kulang. Sa navy. Baka mamaya, ang isang sundalo natin kayang patayin ng 50 nila. Hindi natin alam. Sanay yung mga sundalo natin sa bakbakan eh. Abu Sayyaf pa lang eh. Mga teroristang grupo pa lang. Batak na sila. Communist insurgency pa lang, batak na sila. Lamang lang sila sa technology. Yun yung aminin natin. Lamang sila sa technology. Pero sa sa field experience, lamang tayo sa field experience. Subukan nyo, kahit war games lang. Kahit kahit laro-laro lang. Diyan sa bundok. Diyan sa may ano, diyan sa may Cordillera. Laro-laro lang. Paintball. 100 Chinese tapos 10 Pilipino. Try nyo lang. Eksperimentohan natin. Di ba? O, di ba yung buti kinoment ni Name Legion si Battle of Yultong, naalala nyo to? Sa Korea? Sa Korean War? Research nyo yan. Ang galing yan. Battle of Yultong. Puro Pilipino yan. Kaya tayo humihingi tayo ng tulong sa Navy. Sa pandagat kasi admittedly mahina talaga tayo doon. Pero subukan na lang pasukin ng Pilipinas. Try nila. Lalo dyan sa may bandang norte, sa bandang Cagayan, bandang mahihirapan sila. Baka isang araw lang sila, atras sila doon. Tuloy natin. Tara CCP, friendly game lang. Sabi ni Liam. Friendly game lang. Ano lang, tawag dito. Paintball lang. Try nyo.
All right. In our last interview, we talked about what the Philippines can do proactively to reiterate and strengthen and reinforce the arbitral victory. I'll start with Ayungin Shoal, for example. China came out with a statement and said the Philippines or the Philippine government has broken 3 of its promises. Number 1 is to tow off BRP Sierra Madre, and they claim it's been there for more than 20 plus years. So the assumption is a promise may have been made prior to the last president. Number 2, they claim that there will be no refurbishing, no reinforcing of BRP Sierra Madre. What's allowed is only supposedly the delivery of food and supplies and water, in which another promise they claim is the Philippines would give a heads up or inform China in advance. Let's talk about Ayungin Shoal, that particular alleged gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, so there's been some smoke around that, and it may be, this is entirely speculative, that there were meetings in which some official from some administration said something that might have indicated that they would listen. But China has never really given any details about when any of this happened, who was involved, what exactly they said. So, it's very, very hard to credit that. And honestly, in the end, a gentleman's agreement is a gentleman's agreement between 2 people. It's not a signed agreement between 2 countries. It's not a treaty. It's so and as we know, in a democracy, every administration is different. So I really have a hard time. I think this is a narrative. It's something that's very convenient to China, but I think the more time that we spend sort of dwelling on it, the more time we're sort of just playing into their narrative.
All right. Okay. When it comes to Ayungin Shoal.
So wag na raw pag-usapan yung gentleman's agreement. Kasi, which I actually agree, sinabi na rin to ni National Security Advisor, Anyo. Sabi niya, tsaka ni ASEC Jonathan Malaya ng National Security Council. Sabi nila, the more na pinag-uusapan natin yan, lalo lang nakahati ang mga Pilipino, lalo lang tayo nakatutok sa katraidoran ni Digong. Siya yung nabibira, hindi si China. Sinabi rin to ni Secretary Gibo. Ang nabibira, puro si Digong, sa kanya nabubunton yung sisi, pero ang tunay na may kasalanan talaga, silang dalawa ni China. So, umayin natin sila pareho. Ganun na lang. Diba? Kung ayaw natin kung ayaw natin bitawan yung katraidoran ni Digong, adi banata natin sila pareho.
Being a security expert, what would it cost the Philippines, or what could happen if the Philippines rehabilitates BRP Sierra Madre? Or even replace it? There's been talk that some have said you could actually put, since it's symbolic, a newer ship.
Right. And I think that China's entire blockade strategy has been intended to prevent that exact thing. I think that they're very sensitive to seeing a larger ship enter the shoal because they're afraid of exactly that it would just simply run itself aground next to the Sierra Madre, and we would just the Philippine soldiers would just move over. And so, you begin with the fact that in order to do that, you would have to run the blockade, and that would take some force or some speed or some stealth, certainly over and above what the Philippines has done so far. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I think that I believe very firmly that the Philippines is looking into other ways to resupply the ship, so that they don't become such tests of will every single time. And I think that some of those will probably come into view in the coming months.
All right, Ray. Attorney Harry Roque, the former spokesperson of former President Duterte, has said this administration is practicing what he calls microphone diplomacy, and he says it's not working. I want to ask you this:
Is it not working?
Yes, this president has been firm, and is quite admired by the West because of his West Philippine Sea stand on the arbitral ruling. But the question is, does it actually work in de-escalating China's actions? Is this the right strategy?
Right.
Or are we already falling behind the diplomatic route?
So I think, the question is, what is the Philippines' desired outcome? Obviously, de-escalation is certainly something that's desirable always. But when we understand that one of China's strategies is to get their adversary to de-escalate first, so that China's adversary concedes, right? They want to force concession. So de-escalation, if it means conceding, is not necessarily always the best strategy, especially when that's exactly what China is wanting.
Correct.
That's what they're actually trying to do. So what the Marcos administration has done has been to accept some risk in order to try to gain some rewards, and some of those have already happened. And we can see that in just this recent trilateral summit in Washington D.C., in which it walked away with some substantial rewards from both Washington and Tokyo, both on the security side and on the economic side. So,
Correct.
Some of this international support has taken real material form. So obviously everybody would like to see de-escalation. What we'd like to really see is to see a mutual de-escalation, not simply a capitulation.
Is a code of conduct still possible at this point?
I probably told you this before, Karen, but I really am a skeptic about the code of conduct. I just think that China's expansionist agenda is so far out of line with what not just the Philippines, but every other claimant country needs and wants. I think that really the code of conduct has become a little bit of theater. It's a place for China to sort of sideline more serious discussions, saying that we'll talk about it in the code of conduct negotiations.
Correct.
But the code of conduct negotiations are never really intended to get to a conclusion.
Yeah. Ray, what can the Philippines...
Agree ako dun, mga kotsero. Kasi kung gusto talaga ni China nang maging maayos yung West Philippines, or at least the disputes dyan sa South China Sea, dapat noon pa. Kasi hindi wala naman tayong nakita ng effort from the side of China. At saka ito pa yung pinakamano dyan, pinakamasaklap na gustong pagawa ni China. Ang gusto nila, hindi legally binding ang code of conduct. Ibig sabihin, pag binayolate nila yung code of conduct, walang consequence. See how disingenuous ang China? Hindi to legally binding walang atraso kapag hindi namin sinunod tong code of conduct. Walang mangyayari. Walang penalties. Basta may code of conduct lang. Ganun sila ka-dishonest and disingenuous.
Philippines do better in comparison with its ASEAN neighbors. I've had interviews where Former Senior Associate Justice Carpio, for example, has advocated exploration. He says that's when President Marcos Jr. will walk the talk because it's such a proactive approach, right? To saying this is ours, this is the exclusive economic zone. And he says Malaysia has already started exploration without asking permission from China. In a national security point of view, how should and how would it benefit the Philippines to approach exploration, considering we do have our own power issues in the Philippines, and I mean energy?
Yes. So understanding that, the Philippines' energy issues are acute. In other words, you're concerned about running out of gas from the Malampaya fields very soon. And starting exploration now is not a short-term answer. It takes quite a while for all of that to result in the discovery, in the drilling, and all of the exploitation. All of those things take a very long time. So, you're looking at a long-term solution, which doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but it means that it's not a solution for where the Philippines is now, and the Philippines will have to look at other things in addition to exploration. I think that it's, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ray.
No, I think that the Philippines should certainly look at whether it wants to go ahead and try exploration. The hard thing that the Philippines has to deal with is that because it has not yet explored and drilled within the 9-dash line, it makes it in some ways harder to start, whereas Malaysia and Vietnam already do have active wells within the 9-dash line, so doing additional exploration doesn't seem like such a big deal, whereas for the Philippines to go out sort of for the first time makes it look like a bigger deal.
That is interesting. So, Ray, in effect, if it had been done before, it would be less of an issue today.
Sure, doing more exploration and drilling is easier than doing initial exploration and drilling, because all of a sudden it's like you're crossing some big line instead of just continuing to do what you have done.
See? Naalala nyo, kaya ako pinakita yung oil eh. Kaya ako to pinakita kanina. Alam nyo kung bakit pinipigilan ni China na tayo mag-drill ng hiwalay sa kanila? Kasi ang gusto nila kasama natin sila. Eh kung nag-explore at nag-drill na lang tayo ng mag-isa, hindi naman lang tayo mapipigilan eh. Hindi na tayo mapipigilan. And if they try, kung gusto nilang tayong pigilan, mga kotsero, they're going to violate international law. They're going to violate international law. Yun yung sinasabi ni Ray Powell. Pati ba binring up ni Karen Davila. Sabi niya, may problema kami, may energy problem kami, etc. whatever. Ano sabi ni Ray Powell? Gawin nyo na lang. Gawin nyo na lang, mag-explore na kayo dyan. Kasi mas madali yung inumpisahan nyo na, tapos saka kayo maipag-usap kay China, kasi meron ng meron na kayo inumpisahan eh. Maiki-join na lang sila. Kung gusto nyo, maiki-join sila. Yun yung sinasabi ni Ray Powell. Anong ginawa ni Digong? Nagpatakot. Ano bang ginawa ni Digong? Well, short of bribing already. Anong sinabi ni Xi Jinping? Isang tabi mo na yung PCA ruling. Hati tayo sa gasolina dyan, hati tayo sa langis, etc. Isang tabi mo na yung PCA ruling. Hati tayo, sa'yo yung majority, 40% sa akin, 60% sa'yo. At pumirma dun si Digong, ha? Pumayag si Digong dun. Kasi nga mga kotsero, kung nag-drill na tayo, kung nag-explore na tayo dyan, tinesting na yung at nalaman na natin meron dyan, at pinigilan tayo ni China, they're going to violate international law. They're going to violate the UNCLOS. Lalo tayong merong cause, kasuhan sila sa abroad. Lalo tayo may cause, kasuhan sila sa international court. Dali natin sa UN. Kahit may impluwensya sila doon. Baka matanggalan pa, alam ko permanent sila doon. Pero baka mawalan pa sila ng impluwensya doon. Kaso may veto power kahit mag-isa lang kasi. Kahit isa lang ang kumontra doon eh. Sa UN Security Council. Kahit isa lang doon, hindi na-approve yung mga measure eh. Kahit isa lang kumontra. But anyway, at least mabawasan man lang sila ng impluwensya. So mga kotsero, yung sabi nga ni Ray Powell kanina, and I agree with that, gawin na lang natin. Actually, di ba, hinamon na nga si Presidente, ni Digong. Hinamon na siya ni Digong, di ba? Sabi ni Digong, di maghukay na kayo dyan. Gawin nyo ng outpost yung BRP Sierra Madre. Kung talagang seryoso kayo. And actually, mga kotsero, sa dinami-dami ng sinabi ni Presidente recently, agree ako dun. Doon, sa huli na yun. Gawin na ni Presidente. Mauna ka na. Unahan mo na, Mr. President. I think there's nothing wrong with that. We are already exercising our sovereign rights kapag ginawa mo yun. And we are well within our rights to do that. We're well within our sovereign rights to do that. Kukontra lang dyan sa malamang si Sarah. Sabihin no comment. Sabi ni Digong, ikaw naman binibiro lang kita Presidente, sineryoso mo naman. Papalusot pa naman si Digong. Babalentong na naman yan. Gawin na niya. Gawin na niya. Unahin na natin. Kasi we're well within our rights naman eh. Kaya nga binalikan ko tong sa gasolina. Sa langis. Kasi dyan talaga gigil na gigil si China. Gusto niyang kunin yung langis na yan. Gusto niyang iuwi yan sa kanila. Nag-practice na sila sa isda. Ngayon gagawin na nila sa langis. So ako agree ako dun. If you want to exercise your rights, or sovereign rights, then exercise it. Do something. And I think, in part, itong pakikipag-partner natin sa iba't ibang bansa, itong ginagawa na pag-i-expose sa kalokohan ng China dyan sa West Philippines, it's doing its job. But now, I think now na napapansin na ng ibang bansa na pumapalag na tayo kay China at nakikita na nila na medyo kumukontra na tayo sa kanila, pwede na nating i-exercise yung karapatan natin. Kasi now we have allies. Kakampi na tayo. So, umpisahan na lang. Umpisahan na lang natin. Let's start exercising our rights. Kasi nga, principle of laches. If you do not exercise your right, you will lose it. So, gano'n na lang ang labanan dito, guys. So, ayun. Hanggang dito na lang tayo, mga kotsero, for tonight. Maraming po salamat sa inyong patuloy na pagsupport sa ating channel. Okay lang po ba? Bukas na tayo mag-shoutout. Okay lang po ba? Pasensya na, guys, kasi kinakatok ang misis ko. Ano naman tayo? Kailangan maging sensitive tayo sa mga bagay-bagay na ganyan. Anyway, mga kotsero, bawi ako sa inyo tomorrow. And shout out muna kay Lina kasi nag-super chat siya. Maraming salamat, Lina. At kay Mark Gonzalez, kay Twin Horse, kay Maribel Mahalel Custodio at kay Maria Corazon Monar. Thank you very much sa inyong patuloy na pagsuporta sa ating channel. Okay, you deserve that round of applause. God bless all of you, and I'll see you in our next Coach Jared Live. God bless you. See you next time. Bye. Huwag ganun. Huwag natin gawing tanga mga Pilipino. Mas maganda kasi nasa lugar ka ng tama kaysa yung pinipilit mo yung pagkakamali. Are they willing to go that far? Hindi makakalimutan ng Pilipino yan hanggat di nasasagot yan. Sino ngayon nagsasabi ng totoo?
Hello my friend, it's time travel time. Ang nostalgic listahan natin ngayon ay continuation ng mga sikat na awiting Pinoy na inakala nating 100% original pero galing lang pala sa ibang bansa.
Oh, does the moonlight shine on Paris? Will it ever rain?
2000, The Warrior is a Child by Gary Valenciano versus Twyla Paris.
People say that I'm amazing, I'm strong beyond my years. People say that I'm amazing, strong beyond my years.
2000, First Love by Jason Zaragoza versus Utada Hikaru.
You were always gonna be my love. It's
2005, I Believe by Jimmy Bonda versus Shin Sun Han.
araw-araw maghihintay, hawak lamang ang sinabi mo.
Nasaan ang baong Chucky? Ubus na ubus! Sulit?
나만큼 울지 않기를 그대 원한 눈물 없이 나 편하게 떠나주기를.
2009, Moonlight Over Paris by Paulo Santos versus p.m.
Does the moonlight shine on Paris after the sun goes down? Does the moonlight shine on Paris till the sun goes down?
1992, Sayang na Sayang by Prison Band versus Aegis versus Tatsuro Yamashita.
Sa'yo na lang at sunuhin, itsumate mo wasalit.
1993, Nandito Pa Rin Ako by Manalyn Reyes versus Mickey Imay.
Kito Pekilu
1996, Paano Ang Puso Ko by April Boy Regino versus Eddie Peregrina and the Blinkers versus Chuck Willis.
What am I living for? It's not for you. What am I living for? If not for you.
2000, Aray by May Rivera versus Roy Hamilton.
Aray nako, kay sakit naman ang ginawa mo.
To think that you lied to me, hurt.
1971, Viet Cong Palagdas or Puchikik by Yo-Yo Bilame and the MBs and the MB Rondalia Band.
Conchuela, chichiri conchuela, bochique, bobo chicha, chichiri con tonang, bochique.
You know, don't you know, and I love you so. BBK, yeah.
2005, Pinoy Ako by Orange and Lemons versus Care.
Lahat tayo'y mayroong pagkakaiba, sa iyong ay makikita na.
1993, Babalik Kang Muli by Regine Velasquez versus Kenjiro Sakiya.
Babalik kang muli, mga araw at sandali. Kimi wasure, ano koro no
1976, Tag-Araw, Tag-Init by Haji Alejandro versus Bee Gees.
Sabay sa pagsabog ng alon, sa pagmamahal mo, sinta.
The words that two hearts were saying, you are welcome to my charade.
1990, Gusto Kita by Gino Padilla versus Uta Liku Mahua.
Sabihin ang mali ako, alipin mo ko
1982, Ikaw Pa Rin by Tito Mina versus John Merrill with Sammy Kaye and his orchestra.
Marami pang labing matitikman, nasa isip ko'y ikaw pa rin. There will be other lips that I may kiss, but they won't thrill me like yours used to do.
1980, Bulaklak by Cool Ledesma versus Gil Barrico.
Bulaklak, ang ganda ng bulaklak, ang bango ng bulaklak, dulot sa'tin ay
Lamp of dawn, c'est la rose, lamp of dawn, c'est la rose, lamp of dawn, c'est la rose, waka.
ang sulat ko, naniwala ka. It's my first love, what I'm dreaming as I'm feeling my first love.
1989, Oh Lumapit Ka by Ella Del Rosario of Hotdog versus Joao Gilberto.
Lumapit ka, kung gusto mo akong halikan.
Fiz projetos, pensei tanta coisa, e agora o coração me diz: eu tenho esse amor para dar, o que é que eu vou fazer? Eu tentei esquecer.
1994, Alaba by Eraserheads versus Morrissey versus the Lemonheads. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this nostalgic list. Just consider subscribing kung nagustuhan mo ang channel.
This man lost his body and limbs, leaving only his brain and heart. Then, scientists put a chip in his brain. They keep researching and eventually use his body for experiments and transform him into a robotic policeman. The man is injured during an arrest of a criminal. His wife agrees to the doctor's plan in order to keep him alive. After the experiment is completed, Murphy wakes up. There's information about his program here. Murphy sees his body turned into a machine and instantly loses control of his emotions. He beat the doctor to the ground and prepares to leave the lab. He jumps over the fence. The doctor sees his position through the surveillance. He shuts down the program to prevent Murphy from leaving. Murphy then immediately passes out. The doctor took him back to the lab. Afterwards, the machinery fell off Murphy's body, and eventually only his brain and right hand are left. He hates his current state and asks the doctor to end his life. This man lost his body and limbs, leaving only his
This woman just turned her head. Her face suddenly dropped. She tried to block the bizarre scene with her hand. But the next, the flesh on her legs began to fall rapidly. She tried to run away in fear, and within a few steps, her body suddenly melted and turned into a huge ball of flesh. The onlookers were horrified by the sight. Soon the meatball broke through the glass and rushed onto the road. The whole town ran away in fear. At that moment, a school bus stopped on the road. The door of the bus were malfunctioning and could not be opened. At this critical moment, a man of steel appeared. He plunged his hand into the ground and instantly lifted the ground, blocking the meatball's movement. At that moment, the meatball regained consciousness. She spoke.
I want to go home.
It turned out that the woman was once a famous star. One day, while shooting a movie, she suddenly fell into the river and drank a mouthful of something unknown. When she was fished out, her face was severely deformed. Her co-workers were shocked. Some even threw up on the spot. This woman just turned her head. Her face suddenly dropped. She tried to block the bizarre scene with her hand. But the next, the flesh on her legs began to fall rapidly. She tried to run away in fear, and within a few steps, her body suddenly melted and turned into a huge ball of flesh. The onlookers were horrified by the sight. Soon the meatball broke through the glass and rushed onto the road. The whole town ran away in fear. At that moment, a school bus stopped on the road. The door of the bus were malfunctioning and could not be open. At this critical moment, a man of steel appeared. He plunged his hand into the ground and instantly lifted the ground, blocking the meatball's movement. At that moment, the meatball regained consciousness. She spoke.
I want to go home.
It turned out that the woman was once a famous star. One day, while shooting a movie, she...
Stop! Stop the truck! Stop! Why can't we hear the sirens? No, stop! What are you doing? Call the FAA. Feds? Yes. They're gonna shut down this whole airspace. But what if the government built this thing? I doubt it. Why? Because it works. What the hell happened here?
Sheriff Perkins! The plane smashed right into it. I was almost killed. This man saved my life.
Slow down.
Rusty! Rusty!
I don't think he can hear you.
Dad! Baby, you okay?
I can't hear you. Step away from there, Linda.
I don't understand. What is it?
Stop! Stop the truck! Stop! Why can't we hear the sirens? No, stop! What are you doing? Call the FAA. Feds? Yes. They're gonna shut down this whole airspace. But what if the government built this thing? I doubt it. Why? Because it works. What the hell happened here?
Sheriff Perkins! The plane smashed right into it. I was almost killed. This man saved my life.
Slow down.
Rusty! Rusty!
I don't think he can hear you.
Dad! Baby, you okay?
I can't hear you. Step away from there, Linda.
I don't understand. What is it?
Stop! Stop the truck! Stop!
Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I am going to explain an American science fiction mystery series called Under the Dome. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The premise of the story is set around a suburban town named Chester's Mill. At first glance, it looks like any normal place, but what happens next is going to shock this quiet, small town. In the opening scene, we are introduced to a non-local named Barbie. He is in the woods, burying the dead body of a man. Barbie's injured forehead suggests he got into a fight with the dead man, but the cause of the murder is unknown. In the afternoon, Barbie is heading away from the town when he comes across the sheriff's car. It makes him nervous, which further diverts his attention from the road. When he finally loses the policeman, some cows block his way. Barbie swerves the car and lands in a field with cows. His vehicle takes a spin, but he comes out uninjured. A few seconds pass before the town is hit by an earthquake. The people freeze in shock as the ground shakes violently. Then, all of a sudden, something drops from the sky in front of Barbie, and everything goes silent. A cow falls to the ground after being sliced in half by whatever substance fell from the sky. Barbie investigates to discover it is an invisible wall. It was so sharp that it even cut the houses that it touched. A teenager named Joe comes to Barbie to see if he is alright. He is also just as surprised about the strange invisible wall. Following that, the sheriff and deputy, Linda, are informed that the power supply to the entire town has been cut off. The phone lines are dead, and the internet doesn't work either. It is as if all satellite connections have been lost at the same time. Then, an airplane flying over the town crashes into the invisible barrier, confirming it is actually a dome and not just a wall. The following explosion causes people to panic. On the radio station, a DJ named Phil and his assistant, Dodie, are trying to establish a connection outside. They are confused because they are the only ones on air right now. Phil looks at the bright side, saying this means their ratings will go up. A fire truck comes from the other side of the dome, but Barbie stops it before it crashes. The police arrive and investigate the wall, but its existence is beyond their understanding. The town's councilman, Big Jim, also arrives at the same time, but is just as confused as the others. The group is informed that every road leading to the town is closed, which is causing several accidents. To stop such accidents further, they will have to issue an emergency announcement immediately. Somewhere else, two youngsters named Junior and Angie are enjoying a romantic morning together. Angie is also Joe's elder sister, who works as a volunteer nurse. In the heat of the moment, Junior confesses that he is in love with Angie. His heart breaks when she says she doesn't feel the same. They get into an argument that ends when Angie spontaneously slaps him and storms off. That could have gone better for Junior. A family of three, mothers Carolyn and Alice and their daughter Nori, are also visiting the town for work. They plan to leave as soon as possible, unaware of the dome covering the town. Another notable figure of Chester's Mill is an investigative reporter named Julia. One morning, she is called by a woman to report suspicious activity. The woman has seen 6 tanks of propane being supplied to the town's reserve this week. It is too much stock for fuel, which she thinks is being collected for an ulterior purpose. Julia promises to investigate the matter, but doesn't think much of it. The councilman, Big Jim, goes to the radio station and announces the state of emergency to the people. Carolyn listens to it, but thinks it is some kind of advertisement. Seconds before they are about to crash into the dome, a car from the other side does. The family is safe, but Nori goes into a seizure right then. While she is unconscious, she says something about a pink star. She is immediately rushed to the hospital, which is filled with survivors from the crashes happening around the town. Julia and Barbie are also at the hospital to see her husband. Julia finds out that her husband never works on Sundays and has been lying to her. Outside, Barbie meets Angie and talks to her over cigarettes. Junior sees them together and is filled with jealousy. Over time, his love for Angie has turned into an obsession, and seeing her with another man triggers something inside of him. By now, the borders of the town are being guarded by the military. Several scientists and experts are trying to find out what might have caused the strange phenomenon, but no one has the answers. A few hours later, Big Jim meets the sheriff and asks him about the propane. They vaguely talk about everything they have done to save the town. It is clear that they know something about the dome, but they refrain from talking about the matter. Barbie was supposed to be in the town for only a day and has no place to stay. At night, Junior approaches him and starts a conversation which eventually turns into a threat. Barbie is confused about what he did wrong, but the commotion is cut short when Julia interferes. Somewhere else, the teens are partying, ignoring the state of emergency. Joe meets a guy his age, and the two talk about the situation. Suddenly, he goes into a seizure and says something about the pink stars, like Nori did earlier. His sister Angie is in her house when Junior barges in and kidnaps her. He brings her to his father's old fallout shelter and claims that he knows what is going on. It is then revealed that his father is Big Jim. He was always paranoid about her safety, which is why he built the shelter. In the meantime, Julia brings Barbie to her house and lets him stay the night. Everything goes well until he sees the picture of her husband and realizes it is the man he killed that morning. Linda and the sheriff are on a patrol when the sheriff's pacemaker bursts and kills him in the process. A flashback from the morning shows us that Barbie was in the town to meet Julia's husband and talk to him about some kind of payment. The doctor didn't want to pay, which caused a fight, and Barbie accidentally shot him dead. Even though it was only an accident, he knew he was going to be convicted. Hence, to avoid it, Barbie disposed of the body. In the morning, he notices that his necklace is missing and asks Julia about it. She promises to keep an eye out for it, but Barbie realizes he left it in the cabin where he killed her husband. Somewhere else, 2 policemen come running to the sheriff, but by now, he is already dead. Linda cries, holding him in her arms. Joe is with his friend Ben, who helped him when he got a seizure last night. Ben asks him what he meant by the pink star, but Joe doesn't remember saying anything after he fell to the ground. In the radio station, Dodie manages to connect with the people outside of the dome using a special device. She can hear the soldiers talking to each other, but cannot talk to them. Till now, even the soldiers are confused about what the invisible thing is. At the town's diner, Big Jim is enjoying breakfast before Linda arrives and informs him of the sheriff's death. They immediately rush to the town's mortician, Lester. In the bunker, Angie tries her best to call for someone, but is unsuccessful. When Junior arrives, he chains her down to a bed. He thinks that Angie's rejection and the dome's appearance are somehow related, and when the dome goes away, she will return back to her normal self. The comment is enough evidence of his mental issues. The mortician Lester used to be the sheriff's friend and is shocked to hear about his death. But when Linda is not around, he and Big Jim reveal they know something about the propane import that happened last month. They, together with the sheriff, were hiding a secret from the town. The sheriff's death confirms he won't tell anyone about their involvement, which is good news for them. Later that day, Linda walks into the police station to see Big Jim looking for something in the sheriff's office. On being asked, Jim says he came to take a look at his will, and Linda believes him. In reality, he was there to find paperwork about the propane import that might get him and Lester in trouble. He thinks the papers are in the sheriff's house and makes Lester get them. Somewhere else, Julia goes to the radio tower and finds out they can listen to the soldiers talking outside the dome. Through the device, they figure out people are trying to dig under the dome, but are unsuccessful. Julia broadcasts the news to the town through the radio. The information causes people to panic, which in turn makes them irrational. Joe and Ben are near the border, watching scientists outside doing their job. They're trying to see if water has any effect on the dome. They reach no definite conclusion, but Joe finds out the dome works as a very thick sieve. Later that day, Barbie goes to the cabin to look for his necklace. He finds it, but Junior spots him right after. He calls him out for sleeping with Angie. Barbie figures out the guy is delusional, but cannot get him to go away. They get into a fight, and Barbie overpowers him easily. After that, we see Lester breaking into the sheriff's house to look for the papers about the propane import. He finds them under a drawer and lights them on fire, but the plan backfires when the flames spread and take over the entire house. Soon, several people gather around the house, trying to put the fire out, but without the help of a fire truck, it is almost impossible. If they let the house burn down, the temperature inside the dome will rise and eventually kill everyone. Barbie leads the people, who join hands to bring water to the house. Linda hears Lester's voice and runs inside to save him. She drags him out of the place before handing him to the paramedics. Even after an hour of trying to put the fire out, it only spreads further. Then, Jim comes with a loader and finally ends the commotion. As the tired civilians gather up, one of the policemen named Paul loses his mind. He claims that they will never get out of this situation and is afraid they will start killing each other soon. He fires a shot into the air, which bounces back from the dome and hits a fellow officer. He dies right after, and Paul is arrested. When it gets dark, Joe and his friends go skating. He is approached by Nori, who wants to recharge her phone. He brings her to his home, which is one of the places that has a generator. Meanwhile, Linda brings Paul to the jail while a crowd of people criticizes the police system and protests outside the station. Jim calms them down, asking them to help each other in the time of need. After being locked, Paul goes into cardiac arrest. Linda immediately runs to him, only to find out that he is faking. He takes the chance to push her aside and run away after locking her in. In the bunker, Junior approaches Angie again. She has realized that she needs to manipulate him to let her free. Hence, she tells him about the closed tunnel they used to go to as kids. The dome might not work in the tunnel, which means they can go outside. Angie hopes he will free her now that she is helping him, but Junior wants to go to the tunnel alone. Jim goes to the police station and finds Linda locked up instead of Paul. He lets her out, and they discover Paul is left with a rifle and bullets. Linda immediately gets to looking for the criminal, knowing that he must be in the forest where he frequently goes hunting. Meanwhile, Jim organizes a search party. Carolyn is at the diner, worried for Nori. She has stayed the night at Joe's without telling her mothers. Jim arrives at the diner and asks people to join the search party for Paul. He also makes Barbie join them since he was a good leader when the house was on fire. They make it to the forest, where Barbie shows his expertise and reveals he used to be in the military. Junior is on his way to the tunnel when Julia notices him. She asks him where he is going with the backpack, but he answers her nervously, which makes her suspicious. She follows him and reaches the tunnel. Joe and Nori are having breakfast at Joe's house. He is nervous because he has never been alone with a girl prior to this. Nori, on the other hand, is confident and witty. As they talk, Ben brings in 2 more girls to charge their phones. He wants to use the generator to impress them, unaware that it is an important commodity. Joe has to reluctantly let them in. In the woods, the search party runs into Paul, who shoots a guy in his leg. A second guy stays to take care of him, while Jim and Barbie run behind Paul. In the tunnels, Junior reaches the end and finds out the dome runs through it as well. He gets too close to the wall, which makes his flashlight burst, like the sheriff's pacemaker. Julia comes out to warn him, but he is not happy that she followed him. Junior loses his mind and starts punching the invisible wall until Julia stops him. They sit down to talk and rest for a while. Julia tells him that she is stuck in her lousy job as a journalist because of a mistake she made in the past. As they chat, Junior reveals that his bruises were caused by Barbie. He asks her to stay away from the guy, making it seem like Barbie hit him for no reason. By now, Joe's house is filled with people using his electronics. A bully tries to make people pay for the electricity that he doesn't even own. When no one stands against him, Nori takes the matters into her own hands. The conversation gets heated, but before anything happens, the lights go out. Nori is happy that Joe stood up for her. Meanwhile, in the woods, Barbie and Jim bump into their target, but are stuck because Paul also has his rifle out. He is seconds away from killing Jim when Linda appears behind and shoots him dead. At Joe's house, Carolyn arrives and asks her daughter to be more responsible. Joe and Nori hold hands, which creates strange sparks and sends them both into a seizure. They again collectively chant about some kind of pink stars falling in line. In the bunker, Junior visits Angie again, this time with a first aid kit. She helps him dress the wounds on his knuckles, but secretly keeps a pair of scissors to herself. In the last scene, Julia and Barbie are home after a long day. Julia has started to suspect him after what Junior told her. When he is in the shower, she goes through his belongings. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.
Hi, series recapped here. Today, I am going to explain the second part of a science fiction drama television series called Under the Dome. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. After 3 days of being trapped inside the dome, the people of Chester's Mill start to lose their minds. Moreover, the soldiers appointed to guard the outside of the dome pack up and leave. This causes a riot that has to be stopped by the town's mortician Lester. He chants Bible verses and relates the disaster to the God's wrath that everyone from Chester's Mill should face. The people calm down, but with the town's resources running low, it is only a matter of time before they go wild. Suddenly, Linda falls unconscious and has to be rushed to the hospital. Meanwhile, Angie is still locked inside the bunker. Junior comes to visit with clothes and food. Angie secretly brings out the scissors she hid yesterday and attacks him, but the attempt goes in vain when Junior swiftly dodges. He says that he loves her the most, but she has to stay in the bunker until she loves him back. When she is alone, Angie tries to bang on the pipelines on the wall. It causes a pipeline to break, filling the bunker with water. She falls off the bed in the process and passes out. Julia is still investigating her husband Peter's disappearance. She finds his car in front of DJ Phil's trailer and asks him about it. It turns out Peter sold the car to Phil right before the dome appeared. Phil also reveals he is friends with Barbie, which means Barbie has been lying about not knowing anyone in the town. Suddenly, Phil falls unconscious as Linda did earlier. He is rushed to the hospital where several people with similar problems have gathered. Joe and Nori are also at the hospital. Alice and Carolyn are worried about them after they had a seizure last night. Alice, being a doctor, volunteers to help around the hospital that lacks medical professionals. An epidemic has spread around the town, but the hospital runs out of masks and gloves and has a minimal supply of antibiotics. Still, Alice and the nurses try their best to help everyone. Julia confronts Barbie about his lies, but before he can explain himself, she falls unconscious. Alice assumes that the people might be suffering from meningitis, but they do not have spinal tap kits to confirm the suspicion. Jim hands Junior a gun to guard the hospital and stop anyone infected from coming outside. This is the only plausible way to stop the spread. After that, Barbie and Jim leave for the town's pharmacist to bring more medicines to the hospital. Angie wakes up when the water level rises up to her nose. She immediately tries to stop the flow, but the damage to the pipes is too big to be fixed by one person. In the hospital, Julia meets Phil, who tells her that he was supposed to meet Peter in a cabin. The doctors stop her from talking to him further, but Julia won't calm down before she knows what her husband was doing in the cabin. A while later, Junior tells her that he found Barbie in a cabin the day they got into a fight. This makes Julia even more suspicious of him. She walks out of the hospital through the back door and drives away to look for the said place. In the meantime, Barbie and Jim walk into the pharmacist to see the place is in shambles. Someone came there before them and took away all the medicines. Jim suspects it was Lester and rushes to his home. Lester is burning the medicines in a furnace, claiming that God wants them all to die and they shouldn't resist it. The other two arrive and stop him before taking the medicines away. Linda is still in a critical condition in the hospital. An elderly woman gives up her medicine to save Linda's life since she is more important to the town. It causes the woman's death, which makes Linda feel awful. Some minutes later, the patients start to protest. They want to go out, but Junior threatens them with a gun. Seeing them scared, he puts it down and makes them understand the severity of the situation. Eventually, the protesters calm down and agree to quarantine. By now, Julia reaches the cabin and looks around. She finds nothing related to Barbie, but a pile of paperwork catches her attention. It shows that her husband is in a lot of debt and they are about to go bankrupt. Julia is shocked, having never known about Peter's side hustles. Suddenly, she falls unconscious. Joe and Nori have realized that they got the last seizure after they touched each other. They set up a phone and touch each other once again. A few seconds later, they go into seizures and both say something about the pink stars falling in line. They get better in no time and check the video. The results are shocking, but they decide to keep it a secret from the elders. Barbie goes to the cabin to find an unconscious Julia on the floor. He immediately helps her and gets her to the hospital, even though she might have found out that he killed Peter. Linda tells Jim about the bravery Junior showed that day. Since she is low on deputies, she appoints him to the police force. When Julia wakes up, she asks Barbie about his relationship with Peter. It turns out Barbie works as an enforcer for a betting company. His job is to get money from the people who refuse to pay after losing. Peter lost a lot of money in a bet, hence Barbie was sent to get money from him. Julia is shocked to find out the truth, but Barbie doesn't tell her about his meeting with Peter. At night, Jim returns home to see Lester waiting for him. He has come to return the money they got from the propane import. It is then revealed that they were selling it to youngsters outside the town to create recreational medicines. They made a lot of money using their position, But now, at the time of emergency, Lester wants to let go of all of it. After he leaves, Jim hears bangings on the house's pipeline. He goes down to the bunker to finally see Angie chained to the bed. Angie begs him to let her free, but Jim doesn't listen, scared that his son will be convicted. The following morning, Lester returns to Jim. He claims to have heard the word Moab repeatedly, but Jim thinks it's his hearing aid malfunctioning. Lester has completely lost his mind and believes that he is a messenger of the dome. Joe and Nori are together when they see a large group of butterflies stuck to the other side of the dome. It is affecting the magnetic field of the atmosphere, attracting non-seasonal butterflies towards itself. When they clear up, many buses filled with civilians arrive outside Chester's Mill. They are the relatives of the people stuck inside coming to say hi as per the government's orders. Several people gather near the dome to meet their loved ones who they haven't talked to in a while. Linda also meets her fiancé. Outside, the appearance of the dome has become international news. Several reporters are covering the emotional reunion of the separated people. Meanwhile, Lester continues telling people about Moab and how God is leading them to death. Jim tries to stop him, but Lester in turn wants him to confess his wrongdoings to the public. He gives Jim a day to come clean and threatens to reveal his crime if he doesn't. Julia meets her sister-in-law in the crowd, who shows her a letter from Peter. In it, he apologizes to everyone for what he is about to do and says Julia deserves better. A devastated Julia assumes he has run away because of the debts. By the end of the day, the military clears up the visitors and starts moving away. Barbie uses his old badge to talk to a soldier and ask him what is going on. Even the guy doesn't know what the government plans to do, but they have been ordered to clear up the area as soon as possible and never think of returning. The news shocks Barbie, and he tries thinking of a plausible explanation for the order. Then he remembers Lester talking about Moab and figures out it means mother of all bombs. The military plans to bomb Chester's Mill to get rid of the dome. It is probably because the dome is altering the magnetic field and harming the life of the organisms outside. Today's visit of the civilians was also the last gift to the people of Chester's Mill before their death. He tells Julia, Linda, and Jim about this, and they all work to alert the people. Everyone is asked to gather at the underground tunnel, which is their only hope for survival. Knowing that they are about to die anyway, Jim lets go of Angie. She runs to her house but cannot find her brother Joe. In one of the rooms, Junior is waiting for her with a gun. He tells her about the bomb and apologizes for everything he has done to her. After finding out they are gonna die, Angie lovingly puts him on her lap and waits for the impact. In the tunnel, Alice and Carolyn panic because Nori is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Nori and Joe are outside, still looking for Angie to alert her about the bomb. Joe is worried to death about his sister, who hasn't returned home since the night the dome appeared. At exactly 1:15, the missile is launched. Joe and Nori see it and lock lips for the last kiss before their deaths. But to their luck, the dome stops the missile and protects the entire town and its people. Jim runs to the border to see the areas outside of the dome have been completely destroyed, but the bomb didn't cause a single dent to it. He is joined by Lester, who still wants him to come clean to the public. Since no one is around, Jim takes the opportunity to stick Lester's hearing aid to the dome, which causes it to explode and kills him instantly. Soon, everyone comes to the borders to witness the damage caused by the bomb. Angie is still with Junior in her room. She assumes he is going to lock her again and attacks him before he makes the first move. He chases her outside, but eventually loses her. Somewhere else, a car crash causes the water tank to explode, which further wastes their supply of water. The crash is caused because of Alice, who is low on insulin and is hallucinating. The radio tower stops picking up signals and only plays a strange tune. All the police walkies in the town also do the same. Dodie constructs a special device and finds out a particular frequency is blocking all others, and the signal is coming from inside the dome. She and Julia set off to look for it. The town gets its water supply from a lake inside the dome, so the people are not worried about running out of it. However, Linda and Barbie discover that the lake is filled with methane because of a pipeline that the dome broke. The water is poisonous and they have no way to filter it. The town also gets a hint of this, and people start gathering outside the convenience store asking for water. The store owner doesn't accept money since it is of no use in the time of emergency. People are about to start a riot when Linda arrives and calms them down, but it is clear that they are about to lose their minds soon. Junior is looking for Angie when Linda finds him and calls him to the convenience store. She appoints him to manage the people and any conflicts that arise throughout the day. In the hospital, Alice is on the verge of death and desperately needs insulin to survive. Nori takes it upon herself to steal a dosage of insulin from other people in the town. Joe follows her behind and ends up in an empty house. As they try to break in, a man points his gun at them and reveals that he took his last shot yesterday. Then they break into the next house and find several batches of the medicine in the fridge. However, a kid stops them and reveals that he is the diabetic one who needs the medicine. Nori cannot get herself to steal the medicine from the little boy, but Joe takes a single dosage for Alice. Angie ends up in Rose's diner and tells Rose everything Junior did to her. As Rose tries to calm her down, two thugs enter the diner to rob it. When the girls retaliate, the guys strike Rose and kill her. Angie puts up a strong fight, but she is knocked out in the end. By now, people have started a riot outside the convenience store. Many of them steal food and water and fight in the streets. The police try their best to stop the commotion, but are outnumbered by the people. Angie and Joe are on their way back to the hospital when Julia and Dodie approach them. They register that the signal that is blocking the radio frequencies is somehow coming from the couple. Joe tells them about the seizures they have been getting, which also started when the dome appeared. It is clear that Joe and Angie have some kind of connection to the dome, but they are unsure what. Barbie enters the diner to see a guy stealing supplies. He holds him down before rescuing Angie. Outside, Linda brings out her gun to stop the riot, but before she shoots anyone, it starts to rain. The people stop fighting, relieved that they won't die of starvation anytime soon. Barbie hands an unconscious Angie to Jim, unaware of his intentions. Jim says he is taking her to the hospital but brings her to his home instead. In the meantime, Julia and the group are on the border. When Angie and Joe touch the dome together, the blockage of the frequency stops. This further proves their connection to the dome. When it gets dark, Julia and Barbie meet in front of her house. They hug, tired of everything that happened today. Julia has started to develop feelings for the person who killed her husband. Angie wakes up in Jim's house and asks him what she is doing there. Jim promises to let her go after she listens to what he has to say. He wants her to not tell anyone about her abduction, and in turn, he will do everything to protect her when the people go wild. A girl like Angie with her brother cannot survive on her own, so it is in her best interest to take the offer. But before she does so, Junior arrives home and the episode ends. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching. Hi, series recapped here. Today, I am going to explain the second part of a science fiction drama television series called Under the Dome. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care.
The movie is set in the year 1962, when the United States and the Soviet...
Hi, series recapped here. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Hi, series recapped here. Today, I am going to explain the third part of a science fiction drama television series called Under the Dome. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. On the 4th day after the dome's appearance, Julia and Barbie wake up in the same bed. Their morning is interrupted when a pregnant neighbor named Harriet knocks on the door asking for yogurt. Barbie leaves for the police station shortly after. A while later, Harriet comes out of the house and sees her husband in the street. He was out of the town when the dome fell, so Harriet assumes it must have vanished. But when she touches him, he disappears and her hand lands on the dome's surface. She is hit by a bolt of electricity which causes her water to break. Meanwhile, at Jim's home, Junior goes to Angie's room again. Upholding his vow to protect her, Jim drags his son out of the house and orders him to never return. Junior resents his father for always treating him like trash, but in this case, he has no way but to follow Jim's orders. Angie is sad about Rose's death because the woman treated her like a daughter. When she finds out her dead body is still inside the diner, she rushes to see her. Angie finds her on the kitchen counter and all the memories they had together flood in. Ben also arrives there and helps her bury the body. In the police station, Linda, Junior, and Barbie set off to look for the guys who killed Rose. They also robbed many shops in the town and have turned into a threat to everyone. Junior wants to kill them at sight since they injured Angie yesterday. However, Linda orders him to not use violence until it is absolutely needed. Following that, we are introduced to a tight-fisted farmer named Ollie. He is the only one that has a working water irrigation system and can provide running water to the town. Hence, Jim and Ollie have made a pact to trade propane and water with the people. However, Ollie betrays him and claims that the entire propane storage is his. When Jim goes to the storage, a man with a gun stops him, declaring the property belongs to Ollie. Jim walks away for the time being, but he is not someone who gives up easily. Somewhere else, Joe and Nori are trying to make a connection with the dome again. Joe proposes a theory that the dome is like an atom. The border is the electron, which means the primary particle nucleus must be in the middle. The duo set off to look for it and reach a field after walking for a while. They also have a dog that helps them navigate. When they reach nearer to the center of the dome, something scares the dog and it runs away, but the other two continue the search. In the meantime, Julia is bringing Harriet to the hospital. Suddenly, their car is stopped by the thugs who killed Rose yesterday. While Harriet cries of pain in the back seat, they try to rob them of fuel. Barbie arrives at the right time and stops them, but the thugs manage to run away. After that, they bring Harriet to Joe's house where Alice is staying. Since she is the only doctor in the town, they believe going to her will be better than going to the hospital. Alice and Carolyn quickly put the pregnant woman in a comfortable position and start helping her. They have no medical tools or medicines to make it easier for Harriet, which means they solely have to rely on Alice's expertise. Then we see Joe and Nori reach the center of the dome. They discover a smaller dome that holds a black egg inside. When they touch the dome, Alice appears in front of them and disappears right after they move their hands. Nori feels like her mother is in trouble and rushes back home. Somewhere else, Ollie visits Jim in his office and reveals his true intentions. People always thought he was inferior to Jim, so he wants to prove them wrong now that he is the main source of their resources. The two thugs from earlier are in their hideout when Linda and Junior arrive and try to arrest them. But when they retaliate, Linda has to reluctantly shoot one dead. While the other begs for his life, Junior happily kills him. Meanwhile, at the house, the delivery goes well and Harriet gives birth to a girl. She names her after Alice because without her, the delivery wouldn't have been possible. But then, Alice gets a heart attack and has to be put to bed. When it gets dark, the security guard at the propane storage is loading his truck. Jim takes aim at him with his gun and shoots, causing the car to explode and kill the guard in the process. Nori returns home to see her mother in the worst condition she has ever been. Joe also meets his sister after a week and is thankful that she is okay. Alice tells her family that this was nobody's fault and passes away. Joe can do nothing but watch Nori beg the dome to bring her mother back. The next morning, Barbie digs a grave for Alice and waits for the family to be ready to let go of the dead body. Angie goes to the diner wanting to keep running it after Rose's death. Since the owner of the place is Jim, it is easy for her to ask him to sell it to her. After that, Jim goes to Ollie to make amends because the town is in a food shortage and they need his help. However, Ollie is ready to starve everyone to get back at him. Jim registers they can only make Ollie help by force. Hence, he gathers Linda and Barbie and tells them of the law that says the government has the right to confiscate property at the time of crisis. He wants to use it in their favor and take over Ollie's farm. He knows that there will be retaliation from the other side, which is why he needs the help of armed police. They go to the farm but are outnumbered by armed men. Officer Carter is shot in his leg as a warning. Right then, Junior walks towards the enemy's side, showing his alliance to them to get back at his father. The others have to embarrassingly return to the police station. At home, Joe tells Julia about the egg inside the smaller dome, thinking that they need the elders' help to figure out what it exactly is. Julia wants to see it for herself, so they make their way to the jungle. This time, they reach the egg when it is glowing pink. Julia tries to touch it, but the dome protects it. When she carefully touches the dome, she gets a vision of Joe standing in front of her and saying, "The monarch will be crowned." As soon as she takes her hands off, the vision ends, leaving her shocked. They immediately return home after that, planning to investigate the egg tomorrow. Somewhere else, Jim wants to gather up people and attack Ollie's group to finally get the water supply back. But Barbie doesn't like the idea of fighting with their own people and suggests they divert the flow of water from Ollie's farm to another part of the town. It is also risky because the entire source of water might be destroyed, but the plan is better than starting a battle. Jim, however, doesn't agree and orders them to gear up. Linda and Barbie secretly join hands to go forward with a water diversion plan behind Jim's back. At Ollie's home, he tries to pin Junior against his father. He also reveals that the death of his mother was not just a mere accident, but she deliberately crashed her car. Junior is enraged at his father for hiding something so important from him. He assumes that Jim thought he wasn't worthy enough to know. A while later, Barbie breaks into Ollie's place to create an explosion that will divert the water flow. But before he can, Jim brings his men to attack Ollie and his people. A shootout ensues outside which distracts everyone and gives Barbie an opportunity to place the explosive. It goes off a while later and the plan works efficiently. In the heat of the moment, Junior approaches his father and knocks him out with a hit to his forehead. All of Ollie's men leave now that they cannot get water in return for their service. Ollie hands Junior a rifle and urges him to kill his father. Junior asks Jim why he hit the cause of his mother's death and finds out Jim didn't want to hurt him. No matter their differences, he genuinely loves his son, which is why Junior cannot get himself to kill him as well. As Ollie tries to do the job, Junior shoots him dead, helping Jim. Sometime later, Jim is in his office with Barbie, who is not happy about the 5 deaths that were caused in the shootout. He has realized that Jim only thinks of the people to keep himself in power. The next morning, Julia brings Barbie to the woods to show him the egg from yesterday. But to her surprise, the egg, alongside the dome, is missing. Barbie gets a call from Linda, who urgently needs him somewhere. It turns out a man named Ted accidentally shot a bypasser while firing at a trespasser on his property. The trespasser is a junkie who has gone insane after not getting a fix for weeks. He claims that he used to buy pills called the Rapture from Lester. Barbie and Linda are shocked that a mortician was selling illegal medicine to the teens. They go to his house and find the supplies he used to make the rupture. The most interesting part about it is that propane is the main ingredient in it. Considering the fact that the town somehow has a large supply of propane, Barbie and Linda start suspecting Jim. At the same time, Junior goes to the diner to meet Angie. She asks him to go away, but he insists that he is not there to harm her. He still believes the dome is making her sick somehow, which Angie thinks is a bluff. But right then, she gets a seizure like her brother and Nori. While struggling, she also says the pink stars are falling. Then we are introduced to a wealthy businesswoman, Max. She is the main dealer who supplied propane to the town so Jim's people could create the rupture and distribute it for money. She came to meet him on the day the dome appeared and has been living in an abandoned house ever since then. She has come out at the right time and wants to take advantage of Chester's Mills crisis for her own profit. Junior, on the other hand, is driving Angie to her home. She is panicking in the back of his car, scared that she will be held captive again, which is why she is surprised when he actually leaves her home. He also claims that he always knew she was going to be sick because of the dome, as she did today. Inside the house, Julia and the kids are talking about the eggs' disappearance. Angie walks in and tells them about the seizure. The group realizes the seizures are definitely not a coincidence, and the three of them have been chosen for a specific task related to the dome. Nori notices that Angie has a butterfly tattoo on her back that resembles the butterflies that were attracted to the dome. However, the others do not think much of it. To keep the town safer, Jim wants to seize everyone's guns, but knows people will retaliate if they are forced. Hence, instead, he announces that they are organizing a gun turning-in program. No one will be forced to give up their firearms, but the ones who do will get extra food and water. Nori and Joe are desperate to look for the egg again. Hence, they take their dog and go on a search, relying on his abilities. Angie goes to meet Junior in the police station. She thinks he might know something about the dome since he always insisted that the dome is making her sick. Junior brings her to his house to show her something. It turns out his mother was a painter before her death. One night, he had a very vivid dream which she drew on a canvas. In her dream, Junior is standing on a hill and pink stars are falling from the sky. Junior doesn't know what made him think Angie is sick, but his instinct told him so. In the diner, people gather to give up their firearms except for Ted, the guy who shot the passerby earlier. Barbie and Jim go to his house where Jim finds him seconds away from doing the unthinkable. Ted lost his wife in an accident when the dome first appeared and doesn't want to live anymore. Jim convinces him otherwise and sends him to the hospital. In the meantime, Linda comes to the propane storage space to investigate who is importing them in. She goes through the CCTV footage and sees the former sheriff and Max making a deal. It is evident they had to do something with the import, but Linda doesn't want to believe the sheriff was a bad person. After that, Max meets Barbie and kisses him. Barbie reveals that she is his boss who he doesn't enjoy working with. Max has dirt on Barbie and Jim, which gives her power over both of them. To keep their secrets from coming out, they will have to agree to whatever she says. When she and Barbie are alone, Max calls him out for killing Peter. He had called her frantically that morning, and now that Peter is missing, she puts two and two together. She threatens to tell Julia about her husband's death if he tries to double-cross her. After an entire day of searching, Nori and Joe do not find the egg, but they return home at night to see it is in the shed. Angie says that Joe brought the egg home last night, but he doesn't remember a thing. They slowly touch the dome and their hands act as a key to opening it. However, they need a fourth hand to complete the lock. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help. Hi, series recapped here. Today, I am going to explain the fourth part of a science fiction drama television series called Under the Dome. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. It is now the 9th day since the dome's appearance. Joe, Nori, and Angie sleep in the barn to protect the smaller dome and the black egg. When they wake up the next morning, a caterpillar has magically appeared inside of it. They think the caterpillar will turn into a monarch butterfly, which all relates to the monarch that the dome told them about. They touch the dome again and see the fourth handprint on it. They assume it is someone who has gotten seizures like them. When the group is not around, Dodie comes to the barn and touches the dome. It electrocutes her, refusing to take her hand as the fourth print. The others find her unconscious and quickly bring her to the hospital. When she gains consciousness, she doesn't remember touching the dome and thinks she got zapped by the generator. Angie and the group do not correct her to keep the dome safe and hidden. Angie asks the town's nurse if someone has come to the hospital with seizures in the past couple of days. The nurse jokingly reminds her that Junior had a seizure in high school. This makes Angie realize that Junior is the next chosen one, not just because of the seizures, but because of his mother's painting. Somewhere else, Barbie goes to Jim to talk about Max. Since she is trouble for both of them, they join hands to take her down. Jim starts by finding out where she has been living for the past week. While they are at the town's clerk investigating, Max arrives. She orders Jim to get her alcohol and shampoo, taking advantage of the secrets she knows about him. Jim has no way but to oblige. Then we see Julia go to the police station to meet Barbie, but she bumps into Linda instead. Linda has been looking around the late sheriff's office to find out more about the propane import. She finds a key in his hat that opens a safe deposit in the town's bank. The girls set off to find out the entire truth about the propane import. Meanwhile, Junior finds a thief who has just stolen salt from the convenience store. The scared guy reveals that he is taking it to trade in the cement factory. It turns out Max has used her connections to create a barter fight club inside the factory. She is using people's desperation to profit for herself. She brings Barbie to the factory and shows him around, revealing that he is the main show of the day. Barbie doesn't want to give in to her plot, but she threatens to tell Julia about her husband's death if he doesn't. In the end, he is made to fight a man who just lost his family to the dome. Most people bet on Barbie, but Max knows he will deliberately lose to spite her. He does as expected, which wins her a lot of supplies. After the fight, Barbie has had enough of Max's blackmail. He believes telling Julia the truth is better than being a pawn. Max doesn't handle the rejection very well because she is also romantically interested in Barbie. While Max is distracted, Jim finds out about a property she owns on the outskirts of the town. He takes a boat to reach the house that is very well kept. The caretaker is a kind woman named Agatha who claims that the house belongs to a man named Oliver. She even offers Jim tea while he waits for Oliver to return home. When Jim is alone, he searches around the house and sees a picture of Agatha and Max together. Suddenly, the woman points a gun at him and reveals that she is Max's mother. She used to be a resident of Chester's Mill until she got pregnant at 16 and was ridiculed by everyone in the town. She had to move to the outskirts and start a new life, which turned out good because Max became extremely successful. Still, she hates the people of the town for what they did to the teenager that she once used to be. Jim notices the way she is holding the gun and figures out she hasn't killed anyone in her life. He confidently walks towards her and gets a hold of the rifle himself. Then he ties her hand and puts her on the boat. As they make their way towards the other side of the town, Agatha accidentally falls into the water. Jim thinks of helping her but decides otherwise. She eventually drowns and dies. Meanwhile, Linda and Julia reach the bank, which is filled with money that has no meaning to the people at this point. They find a letter inside the sheriff's deposit. In it, he reveals that his son died of an OD, which is why he made it his mission to always save Chester's Mill from dealers. For that, he, the mortician, and Jim made the deal with the biggest illegal substance dealer in the state, Max. They provided her with the propane she needed to make the pills, and in turn, she promised to never sell a single batch to the people of Chester's Mill. In the end, the sheriff did everything for the town, even though it was illegal. Julia also opens up her husband's deposit, which shows that he has gotten himself insurance right before his disappearance. This would mean he was wanting to die so she could pay off his debts. She says she needs to talk to Barbie and rushes home. Somewhere else, Angie tells her brother and Nori about Junior's mother's painting. She doesn't think pink stars falling from the sky is just a coincidence. As they talk, Junior arrives and feels betrayed by Angie, who brought strangers to his personal space. Joe attacks him, having found out about his sister's abduction. Angie stops both of them because they need each other to find out what exactly the dome wants. They convince Junior to come to the barn and test if he is the fourth hand that the dome requires. When it gets dark, Linda goes to Jim's house to ask him about his involvement in the propane business. He promises to tell her everything the next morning because he has had a long day. Barbie returns home to Julia waiting for him. She reveals that she knows Barbie killed her husband. Peter's missing handgun and the insurance papers clearly indicate he wanted Barbie to kill him so the debts would be paid. She doesn't blame Barbie and isn't mad at him because what he did was for self-defense. She has seen him put his life in danger for complete strangers and knows that he is not a bad person. Still, she asks him to stay away from her for a few days. Barbie appreciates the understanding and feels a lot lighter now that she knows the truth. Meanwhile, Angie and the group reach the barn to see the caterpillar has cocooned. They touch the dome all at once, which makes the egg glow pink. Several stars form a constellation and fly around the barn, revealing that all 4 of the chosen ones have gathered. They stay in the barn till the next morning, looking at the constellations which are now drawn on the ceiling. There are 4 random dots apart from the constellation that resembles the 4 chosen ones. Still, the dome doesn't reveal the reason for its existence. Joe suggests they take Julia's help because she was the one who was told about the monarch. The others agree and send him to fetch her. When Angie and Junior are alone, he tries getting close to her again. Now that they are working together, he thinks Angie has forgiven him for keeping her captive. Angie makes it clear that nothing he does will make her forgive him. In a fit of rage, Junior refuses to be a part of the group and walks away. Right then, a massive storm forms in the sky that causes several destructions throughout the town. At the police station, Linda meets Jim and asks him about the propane. He finally comes clean and tells her about his involvement in the smuggling. Linda knows the right thing to do would be to arrest him, but not in a situation like this. She understands they did it for the town and decides to let it go until the crisis is over. At Julia's house, someone knocks on the door. When she goes to open it, Max from the other side shoots her and runs away. It is her way of punishing Barbie for not obeying her. Barbie quickly comes downstairs and helps Julia. Right then, Joe comes to Julia's to see Barbie trying to keep her alive. He quickly gets them in a car and drives them to the hospital. Although on the way, they are interrupted because of the heavy storm. They make it to the hospital on time. Since the nurse is busy, Barbie has to take care of Julia himself. The thunderstorm causes the blocked radio signals to come through again. Dodie immediately tracks a frequency and hears the soldiers talking from outside. They confirm that Barbie is inside the dome and claim that he is the one they have been looking for. Dodie understands Barbie is not just an ordinary man. Junior is home alone when Angie bangs on his doors. She begs him to come back to the barn to help them. By now, the storm has turned into a spiral of clouds in the sky. As it grows stranger, Angie relates it to Junior's rejection. She thinks if he agrees to join the group again, it will stop. The two make their way to the barn, which instantly stops the storm as Angie had predicted. At the same time, Barbie saves Julia's life even though she had already lost her heartbeat. A shocked Joe connects the dots and comes to a conclusion that Barbie is the monarch that the dome told them about. He runs back to the barn to tell the others about it. Then we see Max returning home when she discovers her mother's dead body by the waters. She cries mourning her death, but it is soon taken over by anger. She knows Jim is the one who killed her and makes it her mission to end his life. Barbie meets Jim outside the hospital. He is nervous about what Max might do after finding out about her mother's death. Hence, they decide to go to the cement factory and end her life once and for all. On reaching the place, Barbie does something to the generator as a backup plan. Then they go inside but see no one around. Suddenly, Max and her minion point their guns at the two and hold them hostage. Max is upset about her mother's death and will not spare either of them, but she makes the mistake of not killing them instantly. The generator suddenly stops working and the other two take over the guns. They bring Max outside and Barbie leaves Jim to do whatever he wants with them. As he is walking away, Jim shoots Max and the guy dead. Barbie is in shock and doesn't support Jim's decision. Jim in turn points the gun at him. When Linda arrives at the location, it seems like Barbie killed the others and is trying to kill Jim too. She tries to arrest him, but Barbie smacks her in the face and runs away. After that, Jim goes to the radio tower and is told about the message that Dodie heard from the military. He declares Barbie a criminal and accuses him of killing Peter, Max, her assistant, and Agatha. He is also accused of trying to murder Julia when the truth is far from it. The people of Chester's Mill are asked to report to the police as soon as they see him. Then we see the four chosen ones at the border of the dome. They touch the wall together and get the same vision. Jim is standing on the other side of the dome watching them. Suddenly, he starts bleeding from different parts of his body as if he was stabbed. When the four look down at their hands, they see bloodied knives. The vision troubles Junior the most and he runs to see his father. When he is not around, Angie tells the others that the dome wants them to kill Jim. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Hi, series recapped here. Today, I am going to explain the fifth part of a science fiction drama television series called Under the Dome. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Jim knows that if Barbie tells people he didn't kill anyone, his truth will be out. Hence, he paints Barbie as the villain and asks the entire town to be on high alert for the murderer on the loose. He also organizes a home-to-home search party with the help of people. Linda doesn't necessarily support him, but he has manipulated her into thinking he is the good guy. Somewhere else, Julia is still in a coma but out of danger. She is said to come back to consciousness in a few days. Meanwhile, in the radio station, Dodie listens to the soldiers from outside. They talk about Barbie and how he should be contacted as soon as possible. They also seem to know something about the black egg, but do not talk much about it. Still, the term triggers something in Dodie's mind, and she remembers she was electrocuted by the egg and a mini dome over it. She also goes through her phone's camera roll, which has a picture of the egg she took before falling unconscious. She quickly goes to Jim to tell him about it, unaware that he is the real villain. In the barn, Angie, Joe, and Nori are taking care of the egg in the dome. They try to make sense of the vision of Jim's death they saw earlier. Angie thinks they should kill him as soon as possible, but since Junior is also on their team, they cannot risk losing him. For now, they decide to wait for the butterfly inside the dome to come out of its cocoon. Suddenly, Carolyn barges in and sees the glowing egg. Nori explains everything to her and begs her to not tell the authorities. She agrees to help them, knowing that Jim isn't someone who can be trusted. Junior goes to his father and hugs him, thankful that he is safe. After seeing the vision of Jim's death, he is even more protective of him. Jim orders him to be a guard for Julia so Barbie won't try to harm her again. He also emphasizes that he must be informed if she gains consciousness. He wants to make sure she won't tell the people that Barbie isn't the one who tried to kill her. After that, Dodie comes to Jim to tell him what she heard on the radio. They go to the radio station and listen to the recording once again. Jim also finds out about the egg and that it is inside Joe's barn. But then they hear the soldiers talking about how Jim killed the pastor after the nuclear attack. Dodie hears this and is shocked. She fearfully asks him how many people he has killed. Knowing that his secret is out, Jim confesses to all his crimes. Right after, he kills Dodie and sets the station on fire. Linda finds out about this, and so does Dodie's best friend Phil. They assume it was Barbie who killed her since Dodie's broadcast was encouraging people to look for him. In the meantime, Barbie finds Angie and tells her that Julia's life is in danger. Jim has tied up all the loose ends, except when Julia wakes up, his lie will be out. Hence, Barbie has to protect her before Jim gets to her. Angie agrees to help him and takes him inside the hospital through the back door. She also brings Junior aside to distract him, while Barbie brings an unconscious Julia to the ambulance. Junior finds out and calls Linda immediately. Barbie makes Angie drive the ambulance away, while he distracts the police since they are after him. The plan works and Angie is able to take Julia away. She also manages to get a police radio, so she would be informed about where the police are looking for them. Linda confronts Barbie and Phil knocks him down, getting him arrested. Somewhere else, Nori and Joe bring the egg to Ben's house, which has already been checked by the search party. They don't want to keep it in the barn and risk Jim finding it. Ben agrees to help and keeps the egg in his room. While they are at it, Jim and his men come to the barn to look for the egg, but are stopped by Carolyn. She tries to argue that they cannot search someone's home in the absence of the owner, but Jim is not someone who backs down. He makes his men hold him back. Joe and Nori arrive and try to fight them, but are also held back by Jim's helpers. However, when he opens the barn, he is surprised that it is empty. He asks the kids where the egg is, but they pretend to not know what he is talking about. As a result, they are arrested and thrown in jail. Jim plans to threaten them to find out the location of the egg. He doesn't want the egg to bring the dome down before he kills everyone who might testify against him in the future, like Julia and Barbie. In the cells, Joe and Nori think of an escape plan. Jim arrives and again threatens them to reveal where the egg is. Nori instead calls him a coward, which urges him to get inside her cell. She attacks him with a knife, but the man dodges it in an instant. He gives them a last chance to redeem themselves before storming off. Linda brings Barbie and locks him up with his hands chained. A scared Jim asks her if Julia was conscious when she was last spotted, but Linda has no clue. At Ben's house, the egg starts making screeching noises that make his head hurt. He covers it with several layers of clothing and hopes that Joe returns soon. In the following scene, Jim approaches Barbie and asks him to confess to the murder charges. He threatens Barbie with Joe, Nori, and Julia's lives, making him reluctantly agree to do whatever he says. As a result, Joe and Nori are let free. Jim makes Linda follow them, knowing that the kids will go to the mini dome directly. After that, Junior meets his father and asks him if he is hiding something. He thinks that the fact Jim wants to be the first one to talk to Julia is strange. Jim lies and claims that Barbie has confessed to the murders. This confirms that he just wants Julia's safety and makes Junior trust him again. Somewhere else, Julia wakes up and reveals that she was shot by Max. On finding out that Jim is accusing Barbie forcefully, she has to tell people the truth. Joe, Nori, and Carolyn get to Ben's house and hear the noise he has been complaining about. They notice that the egg is glowing and making movements. Linda also sees the egg having followed the kid. Carolyn tries to make her understand that they are doing the right thing, but Linda refuses to believe them. Suddenly, the butterfly comes out but is weak since it is trapped. The group has to find a way to get it out, but they do not know how to do so. Outside the police station, a crowd of people has gathered to witness Barbie confessing to all the murders. However, on being asked, he pleads not guilty. Jim furiously drags him inside and asks him to play by the rules. Back at Ben's, the dome starts turning black and the butterfly falls unconscious. Simultaneously, the bigger dome also turns black, causing Chester's Mill to experience nighttime in broad daylight. Outside, everyone starts to panic and pray. Linda still refuses to trust the kids and touches the mini dome, which causes her to be thrown to the wall. This gives the others an opportunity to run away with the egg. Junior arrives at the right time and helps them. Meanwhile, Julia goes to an unguarded police station and frees Barbie. Phil tries to stop them, but Barbie manages to knock him out even with his hands tied. On their way outside, Joe contacts them on the police radio and asks them to come to a secret place that Angie knows about. Jim and Linda are at Ben's home. They also hear the message from Joe but do not know what the secret place is. A while later, the four chosen ones, Barbie and Julia, meet at the cement factory. Junior tries to attack Barbie, but is stopped because they need him if he is actually the monarch the dome told them about. Julia tells Junior that Barbie didn't shoot her. Everyone tries to tell him the truth about his father, but he is too blinded by his love to believe them. After the discussion, the chosen four touch the dome and cause it to turn into dust. The butterfly seems to be dead at first, but then it starts flying around Barbie. The group thinks this means he is the monarch. However, right after, the ground starts to shake. Something tells Julia to pick up the egg, and she does so. Because of this, the shaking stops. This time, the butterfly sits on the egg, declaring Julia the monarch. Somewhere else, Jim plans to execute Barbie in front of the entire town to assert his dominance and to showcase the false sense of justice to the people. Using Phil's help, he wants people to make gallows for the occasion. To look for Joe and the others, Linda goes to their house and ends up in their barn. She sees the stars and constellations drawn on the ceiling and tells Jim about it on the phone. She also sees the pink stars are falling written on the wall. Upon hearing this, Jim is shocked because his late wife used to repeat the same thing years ago before her death. To investigate further, he brings Linda to his wife's studio and shows her a painting of the black egg and the pink stars falling on top of it. It is clear that Jim and Junior are connected to the dome in a way no one else is. Back at the cement factory, Junior wants to take the egg to the real authority, unaware that his father would destroy it. When the others retaliate, he brings out a gun and threatens them to hand the egg over. Barbie tackles him down, giving the others just enough time to run away. However, as a result, he is arrested yet again. Julia and the others meet in the woods and ask the egg what they should do next. Suddenly, Nori's late mother, Alice, comes to them. She reveals that she is not the real Alice, but has come as a bridge to communicate between them and another group. She tells them that their motto is to protect the egg at any cost, and they will find the reason later on. In the police station, Jim mocks Barbie since the entire town is waiting for his execution. Barbie in turn says that one day the town will be doing the same to him. Meanwhile, Julia and the group go to the diner to hide. They hear Jim talk on the radio, wanting them to hand in the egg in exchange for Barbie's life. After that, Junior visits Jim and inquires if he really killed people like everyone is accusing him of. Jim comes clean and confesses to the murders, but he manipulates Junior to think he did everything for the town and its people. A naive Junior still trusts his father and agrees to side with him if he doesn't lie from now onwards. Julia knows that the entire town will be dead if the egg falls into the wrong hands. Since she is the monarch, she takes the responsibility to keep it safe. She also asks the others to rest for the night in a safer place and goes out with the egg. A while later, everyone in the town gathers to witness the execution. Barbie is set on the gallows with a rope around his neck. At the same time, Julia reaches the lake and gets on a boat before dropping the egg into the water. It creates pink sparks that fly into the sky, creating an illusion of pink stars flying. Everyone in the town sees them, mesmerized by the view. This also stops the execution seconds before Barbie is killed. The pink glowing substance makes a bright light in the sky that covers the entire Chester's Mill, making the dome white. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.